Hi, guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Black Millennial Wife. I'm Jet.
And I am Avis. So we'll move into our Black business highlight. I am going to tell you about Essie Spice. So she is a Black woman that makes spices, basically. I had mentioned in a previous episode, I'm like trying to get Christmas gifts from Black businesses. Like that's my goal, as many Black businesses as I can get for Christmas gifts. And I have a family member, hopefully she's not watching this video, that is a vegan and vegetarian, like, it depends. And so she needs some spices to like mix up what she's making. She does a mango chili, cocoa for garlic, a dry rub, Miko dry rub. I'm sure that's from a country that I'm not familiar with, but I'm sure that it tastes good. She does a tamarind spice too. So all of them came in one box, and it was a really good price. And then I got some extra one-offs for other people too. But she also has like recipes on here too. So I'm going to be following some recipes. The first one that I'm going to try is the coconut curry oxtail stew. Now, Jet, that ain't your speed. She don't eat all of that, y'all. But I definitely do. So go to her website, go to her Instagram, order something from her. And once I get them and try them, then I'll give an update and tell y'all how I liked it.
All right. You go ahead, girl. Have all your oxtail and all your seasoning. Because, honey, I'm going to stick with salt, pepper, and olive oil. Okay? A little bit of garlic, too. Okay. So for my Black business, I would like to highlight Mary Louise Cosmetics. So I recently purchased this miracle serum, which is with the intent for the vitamin C. It also has sunflower oil and boba. We're going to go with boba oil. And I purchased this because I have told you guys that I have eczema. And I have started to get it on my eyelids a little bit as the season has changed. I love this miracle serum. If you're in the market for new serums, vitamin C, I would definitely try it. I've also tried vitamin C's that burn a little bit, like it's so strong that it burns. And this one doesn't. So if you are in the market, I would definitely recommend it. The website is mymarylouise.com, and it is the Mary Louise Miracle Serum. It's a little pricey, but I would say it's definitely worth it if you are in the market for it.
This week's conversation was inspired by a video that Jet saw. And what's the young lady's name?
Her name is Love Dorsey, and I found this video on Facebook.
So we're going to put a little snippet in here at a section that we're going to talk about.
A lot of y'all don't even understand what it takes to be in a monogamous relationship. Like, y'all don't even understand. Y'all be wanting to lock a nigga in so bad, you don't really understand what it actually takes to be in a relationship where you're asking another person to solely focus on you for their intimacy, to solely focus on you for their companionship, to solely focus on you for partnership in finances and in life and in bill paying and in goal setting. Like, you ain't even whole enough to be a nigga everything. And when I be saying that, y'all bitches get on my videos and y'all get offended. Like I'm always taking up for the niggas. But women be the main ones pushing for monogamy. And then when a bitch get in a relationship, you don't understand, by asking this man to not fuck nobody else, by asking this man to not call nobody else, by asking this man to not look at another woman for none of his wants and needs as far as male to female, you are then saying, I'ma be whatever you need me to be, nigga, because I don't want, but y'all don't understand that. Y'all just think that's how it's supposed to be, because that's what the media and the movies and your man and them taught you. That's what y'all think. Y'all like, truth be told, if up front a bitch told you these are all the things you're gonna have to do, girl, in order to lock this nigga in like you want to, half of y'all wouldn't even want the nigga after that. But you never sit down to actually really consider, what does it take to be fucking Ray Ray's girlfriend? What does it take to be Michael's wife? Like, what type of demons do this nigga really got? What type of sex drive do he really got if he left every other bitch alone and only fucks with me? What type of things will he want out of me?
Okay, so now that y'all saw it, basically she speaks about knowing, or a lot of women, a lot of single women, not knowing what it takes to be your boyfriend, husband, hopefully, be his everything, right? So she mentions in some very colorful language, like fulfilling him sexually, fulfilling his, companionship, like being everything to him. So Jet sent it to me, and I was like, I agree with a portion of what she was saying. And so we're just going to talk about it, give our opinion. We don't know her personally or anything, but we'll put a link down to the video so you can see the whole thing. So you can, make your own opinions of it. I think she definitely is coming from a certain level. It feels like she's coming from a certain level of knowledge that a lot of women don't have. And I think you mentioned, like, before we started recording, that she's single right now. So, like, she was saying some things that I didn't know until I was married. So the fact that she was saying that, and she is not even in a current relationship, like, I think that shows like she has something to offer the world. Do I agree with all of it? No, but we're gonna get into that. So, how you felt about being your husband's everything, Jet?
I think I'm much like you. I didn't realize some of those things, as in you have to be your husband's everything, until I was married. And it can be a very overwhelming feeling when you sit back and you reflect on the fact that you are your husband's everything. We've spoken before about, you can't make someone happy. The happiness has to be within them. Putting that aside, as my husband's spouse, I do have to be his sexual fulfillment. I have to be his emotional fulfillment. I have to be there for him spiritually. I have to be his companion, his friend. And the list goes on of things that I have to be for my husband because I am his spouse. And I don't think there's any other way to twist and turn that. I have to be those things for him, because when we feel like we don't have to be those things for our spouse is when I feel like Satan can sneak in and allow that need to be fulfilled in some other way. Because when you look at it, your husband, if he's a working man, hopefully he is, comes in contact with other people and other situations all the time. And so you can't just say, well, he's mine, we're married, and expect everything to just fall into place. Like, you have to be there for your husband in all of those ways. Because even if your husband has no intent to attract some attention in some other way, specifically from a female, it can happen. In general, your husband could just be a nice guy and entertaining conversation from a girl, and then she obviously starts to feel something and then just put herself out there in a way that's inappropriate. And it wasn't your husband's fault, but it could happen. And so I need to know with confidence that my husband has the morals and the character in general to shut that down, but then also knowing that I fulfill my husband's needs. So he's not going to be out there looking for needs in some other place because I'm not fulfilling them. Now, I say all that to say it's not you as a wife's responsibility and for the decisions that your husband makes. But I view it in the sense of my husband's going to make the decisions that he's going to make, period, point blank. But if something inappropriate were to happen, could I look back at my actions and say, I neglected my husband in a certain way? Because I wouldn't want that weight on myself. If you make a bad decision, that's you. That's your fault. You made that bad decision, because I know when I reflect on my actions that I did my part. You know what I mean? So I think for those reasons, I feel like it is my job to be my husband's everything.
Okay. I agree with a lot of that. I do think that when you decide to be in a committed marriage with your spouse, you are, number one, unaware of exactly what you are signing up to be and all the different hats that you have to wear. And that's not just as a wife, that's just as a spouse, right? Like our husbands have to be that for us too. And I also think, number two, it is difficult, right? Because you're going to learn those things along the way. And what reveals those things are typically, and I'll speak for myself in my marriage, like bumps in the road. Like when we've had a disagreement, when I'm not giving him what he wants or he's not giving me what I want. So it's open our eyes to a weak point in our marriage, right? So I get that. What I do not agree with, and I can't wholly say that this is biblical. Let me preface this. This is just Avis and my feelings, right? I don't think that I can agree with how transactional it feels. Like what she was saying felt very transactional. I give you this, you give me this. I give you companionship, I give you availability to meet your sexual need, and you in turn give me loyalty. I don't think it's that black and white. It's not that black and white. And so if I am falling short in my duty to be my husband's whatever, and let me take it out of the context of a wife, right? If I fall short in being my spouse's whatever, right? Husband or wife, I think what people forget is your spouse should be in a place where they know you well enough to be able to identify my spouse is falling short in this area and why that may be the case, and support you in giving them what they need. Not leaving you high and dry because they're not getting what they need. There's a level of grace that you have to have in a marriage that I don't think she touched on. And that is what is causing me pause to be like, yeah, I'm completely 100% with what she's saying. If my husband is having a difficult time meeting my need emotionally, for example, right? He's not as communicative as I want him to be. He doesn't tell me how he's feeling. He doesn't tell me what's wrong. Like, if he is in that space, I have had to, and that's a real situation for us, you know, when we were really first getting into our marriage, like things are way better than what they used to be, but we definitely still have some work. But if he's not in the space to give me what I want emotionally and tell me his feelings and things like that, I have had to really take a look at him, take a look at his family unit, take a look at his life experiences, and that has helped me understand he's not in a place to give that to me. I can't expect him to be able to give me a dissertation about how I make him feel or how he feels about X, Y, and Z when he doesn't have those tools. So it's not so transactional. If you're not giving me what I want, I'm going to go and ditch. Like, I'm going to go do whatever I want. I'm going to go let the devil have space in my marriage to pull us apart. It needs to be a level of grace. So if I can see that in my husband and I know that he doesn't have the tools necessarily to give me what I want, I have to be able to support him in a way to help him get to that place. And that takes a lot of grace. That takes a lot of forgiveness. That takes a lot of time. That takes a lot of knowing each other. That takes a lot of prayer. And that to me is the safety net of marriage. You are never going to be 100% of what your spouse needs or wants. That's an unreasonable expectation. And I don't believe that the Lord set it up like that either. He doesn't want us to be our spouse's savior. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't want us to fix our spouse in those type of ways. He wants our spouse to go to him. He wants us to go to him to be that. So I think it's unreasonable to go into a marriage and to think that my spouse is going to be everything that I need. They're going to be able to provide me with all of those things. That's not reality. And that's not what the Lord wants from us either. And so I think she missed those pieces. And that's why I was just like, I don't really know if I get what she's saying 100%. I guess I understand the theory of it. But when it comes down to real world application, that's not real.
I definitely agree with what you said. And I'm not going to judge that woman and say that she ain't a child of God or whatever. I think we view what she said through a different lens. Because I think that if you just scroll through the people that may have commented or were saying something in that video, I think everybody sees and hears that through different lenses. And through the lens of the Black Millennial Wife, a podcast that's directed towards helping Christian women be the best wives and spouses they could be. Yes, I think it is perceived and received differently. Because I absolutely agree with what you said in a spiritual sense. And I agree with what she said in a fleshly sense. Because you're right. I don't believe that I can be my husband's everything spiritually, because I'm not meant to be. I don't want to be above God. I don't want to be above Jesus. That's not the commandment in the Bible. That's not the order of placement. So I do 100% agree with that. As the fleshly partner that I am, is where I want to be able to be everything I can be for my spouse. I also believe that I also believe that is the reason why, which you just spoke on, that marriages aren't lasting like they used to, because of that lack of grace. I think that's such an important fact in our society today. That divorce is just so easy and so rampant because we don't give grace to our spouses. Somebody messes up, somebody does something, somebody's not fulfilling every desire that you have. So the easiest thing is to just pack up and quit, instead of giving grace and realizing where your spouse is and what they've come into your marriage with. I think much like you, communication was a big thing that we've struggled with in our relationship. And without grace, communication would have definitely been part of a demise of a relationship. Because you hear people say it so often, and it's so true, how important that is. But like you said, my husband grew up in a family who did not pride themselves on talking about anything. You did what I say when I say do it, and if you don't, you get beat. Period. There was no discussing or conversations about anything. Communication is a cycle that a strong communication is a cycle that we need to develop in our family as it continues to grow, because we didn't have that. And it can be a terrible disservice to not allow communication to grow, because it's not going to start off perfectly in every situation. I know for a fact it didn't in my relationship, and it's not by any means perfect right now, but it has gotten so much better. And if we don't break those generational cycles of things that we have dealt with in our upbringings, then we do disservices to our marriages and our relationships that we build as adults. I think that we have to strive to be the best Christian wives that we can. And God has very explicitly explained in the Bible with regards to sex and respect and all of those things as what we're supposed to do as Christian wives. And for me, those things in a spiritual sense add up to what I'm supposed to be everything to my husband. And that's what I'm following. This video was just, a thing that we saw, but I can take that and I can put on my Christian lenses and say, yes, I should be able to fulfill my husband's desires physically because my body is not my own. Yes, I should be able to be my husband's support spiritually that he needs because I am his wife and God didn't intend for man to be alone. Yes, I should be able to show reverence and show my husband respect because I am commanded by God to respect my husband. And so for those things, I can pick out of that context and say, okay, yes, I can apply this to my life as a spiritual wife.
So I agree with what you're saying. I think another thing that I think she missed, and we don't know her background. When you say I'm viewing that as a Christian wife, that's the lens that I'm viewing it from. You're completely right. What I feel like is beneficial to mention, in addition to all those things, is I can't be your everything in a scenario where what you want or need from me is not of God. I'm not commanded to as your wife give you a threesome. The Lord didn't say that. That you have to, you should want to be, and you pray to meet your husband's need, hopefully in the context that he is a Christian man that is leading you and your family in the way that the Lord wants you to go. I think where women and I have messed up in is trying to be these things for this boyfriend who didn't know himself, didn't know the Lord, or thought he knew the Lord, or tried to make people believe that he knew the Lord, but he didn't. Like, don't give yourself to, don't dedicate yourself to, don't work hard and break yourself to be a man's everything when he is not your husband and not of God. That is not what we are supposed to do. Like, it's a lot of different contexts, but I think if you listen to her message and you're listening to this message, I think it's for a reason. Put those things together. Put these things together, right? We are supposed to be and follow a man that is doing what the Lord has called him to do, right? And so, are we perfect? No, none of us are. Are we flawed? Are we flesh? Do we desire things that we're not supposed to desire? Do we have thoughts that we're not supposed to have? Of course. But you have to know the difference, I think, in committing yourself and being ready for the right thing or trying to force the wrong thing. And in trying to force the wrong thing, we end up spending ourselves in a way that the Lord doesn't want us to be spent in, if you get what I'm saying. So, what she said was interesting. And I think there are some takeaways for that. If there are any single women listening, if somebody told me when I was just dating Philip, if somebody gave me a list of all the different roles that I would have to play as a wife and said, hey, you say you want to marry this man, but this is what it's going to look like. Are you ready? I wouldn't have been ready. Am I ready on this day at this time? No, I'm still not ready. And we've been in this thing for 7 years. But the difference is I know who my husband is in his character, and I know who I am in my character and what the Lord is calling me to do and who he's calling me to be. And so, if you're single and you're thinking about it in that context and you're trying to figure out whether it's the right time to give your 100% to this man, I would say don't do it, because he's not your husband yet. And he is not owed that level of reverence. He's not owed that level of dedication. You don't have to play wife to be a wife. Like, that's what I would like. Just pump the brakes, just a taste, just a little bit. Still do what you need to do to maintain a healthy and happy marriage, but he don't have to get a sample to see whether he want to purchase it or not. This ain't Sam's. This ain't Costco. You don't get a sample taste of what it is to have a wife before you figure out whether you want to have a wife or not. So that's my two cents.
That's definitely not scriptural. And I think we have all fallen into that situation where we feel obligated to give a sample to see how it's going to work out. And that should definitely not be the case. And so I think it's important to take away when we as women or spouses in general are seeing these type of things on the internet, whether it's videos that people are posting, whether it's memes, whether it's couple goals, or all of those things. We have to be careful with how we're viewing those things. We have to view them through the right lenses, because we can look at these things over and over and over and start to feel like they've got the answer, or what they're saying is gold, what they're saying is truth. And there may be some things in there that are truth. There may be some things that we might be interpreting wrong, or whatever the case may be. But please know that we are trying to view it through the lens of God. And everybody's not doing that. So when you hear things and when you see things, you have to be careful with how you're looking at them, because most importantly, I got to be looking at it through a Christian, godly perspective. And I can't just take something and take that and make it be what it is, make that truth and nothing else, because that's not necessarily the case. Listen and view the things that you do, but also take that time to switch your lenses and be like, okay, well, what does God say about this? And not just taking things from the worldly perspective and saying that this is it. This is the end all be all. This is how it's got to be done, because that's going to get you in trouble. And it's also going to set you up for failure, because it may not be in alignment with what God has said.
Come on.
All right, so we're going to wrap up our episode with how we won at adulting this week. We all want to grow up. We all want to be grown, and then it happens, and it's like, God, can I get a break? But it doesn't happen. So we want to celebrate when we are doing the best that we can at being the best adults that we can be. I won at adulting this week by making a very strategic decision to not spend more money on my classroom. So of course the holidays are around the corner, and you want to just make it as special for the kids as possible. And then you can put yourself in a predicament, end up going broke behind it. And then you just got to take it all down and just move on like nothing ever happened. So my teammate and I decided to have the kids decorate the classroom. So we went online, downloaded as many free things as we could that would make Christmas decorations for our classroom. We used butcher paper and everything, and we just had the kids decorate our entire classrooms for the holidays. And they absolutely loved it. They were so proud of their ornaments for the little giant paper Christmas tree we printed out. They made stockings. They made a Merry Christmas banner. They made chain links that we used to make when we were younger, and everything to decorate the classroom. So it made me feel good that they were so happy that because I know they would appreciate some decorations and something looking pretty, but I feel like they appreciate it more because they're the ones that decorated the classroom. So I felt like that was a very conscious decision, because the typical me would go out and spend a bunch of money on Christmas decorations for the classroom, and I chose not to do that. So I'm very glad that I made that decision, and I'm glad that they love it and are appreciating it.
That's pretty dope. So if you didn't know or couldn't pick up, she's a teacher.
Yes.
Gotta say that part. How I went at adulting, and I haven't done the task yet, but just deciding to do the task is winning at adulting to me. So, in previous episodes, probably in this one, I've talked about how I like direct communication and I really don't have a problem with direct communication. But there is a person in my life, a family member who I have a hard time having direct communication with. But I have decided that I'm going to do and have this difficult conversation with this person who is very important to me. But our relationship has been fragile in some ways. And so I really like shy away from having hard communication with this person because it can fracture our relationship further and cause more distance and da 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 da. So I have not done it yet, but I have decided that I'm going to. I am very, very nervous about it. This person is the only person in the world, and it's not my husband. This is the only person in the world that I am like nervous to have conversations, like hard conversations with. But I've realized that this relationship has to be reciprocal. Like I cannot give and give and give and give what this person needs without some understanding and receiving some of what I need to maintain the relationship. So I'm going to do it. I don't know when I do. I mean, it's kind of on a time crunch piece, so it has to be sooner rather than later. So when I do, I will let you all know how it went. But it is going to be hard. I am anticipating, but I need to grow up when it comes to this person, and I need to do it.
Well, we'll definitely be praying for you and that conversation. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Black Millennial Wife.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Let us know your interpretation of what Miss Dorsey was talking about. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Let us know how you're feeling. Be on the lookout for our next episode posting on next Friday. Thank you, guys.